Hi, and welcome to my channel, where I talk to successful IB graduates and supportive parents about their experience of the IB Diploma. I'm happy to welcome Josephina Zoulia, who is going to be talking about her experience of taking a gap year. Josephina, do you want to talk to us about some of the challenges that you faced when you were deciding to take a gap year, some of the barriers that you felt you had to overcome?
Yeah, sure. So some of the challenges I faced were the societal pressures that I had around me during year 13 when I was trying to make my decision on whether I wanted to take a gap year. I found that I was surrounded by people who would discourage the idea, and that was family, friends, and even teachers. And that made me feel a little bit self-conscious about that idea in particular. And that led to some of my own personal fears, which I'll discuss right now. So, a common fear that I had and that a lot of my friends said they had was that a gap year would be a waste of time. Another one was that I would get lazy during my gap year. And my personal fears about taking a gap year, which were a bit silly to be honest, was that I would be a little bit older when I got to university than everyone else. I'd be 19 when they'd be 18, and that when I graduated from university I'd be older than everyone else who had graduated from university. Again, a bit of a naive and silly fear. Don't worry about that, I would say, after having talked to my friends who are at university and meeting people of all different ages. The difference between an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old is not that expansive, definitely not worth worrying about. As for the other fears that were kind of projected onto me from the people that were around me, I would say they didn't hold true for me personally. I don't think I became lazy during my gap year. I feel like I actually did quite a few things, and it definitely wasn't a waste of time. I learnt not in the same way I learned at school, but I learned in a more personal way. I learned about myself, and I learned about skills that weren't common to learn about at school.
That's interesting that you use the word skills rather than knowledge as something that you feel you gained from taking a gap year, because if you went straight to uni, really what you're doing is investing in knowledge. There are skills you develop from your university courses, but ultimately there is a big focus on knowledge and academic knowledge. So what types of skills do you feel you gained from your gap year?
During my gap year, I definitely gained solely skills. I invested my time in doing things I hadn't done before. For example, I went on a very, very long distance walk. I started volunteering with multiple organizations, and I discovered that I was lacking in a few areas, and those were social areas and also my knowledge on how to work in a workplace environment. So I definitely think that I developed socially. I learned a little bit more about how to talk to people that I hadn't really learned at school, because I was surrounded by people of the same age group, and I had a very student-teacher relationship with people that were older than me. And then when I started volunteering, I learned what was expected of me in a workplace environment, and I feel like that's not a skill that I would learn going straight to university. Don't fear the gap year. So I was quite afraid at first. I had many factors contributing to this, but thankfully I was able to overcome this fear, and I'm very grateful that I did.
How else did you benefit from taking a gap year?
Well, something that I struggled with while I was at school was organisation and organising myself. And I feel like taking a gap year has really helped with that. And my advice to all students out there who are taking a gap year is to be proactive. At school you kind of have everything handed to you on a plate. You know what assignments you have to do, you know the deadlines, you know exactly what you have to do. During a gap year there's a sense of insecurity where you have a big amount of time with no specific structures in there. So it's up to you to be proactive I would say get excited about taking a gap year, do your research, ask people about their experiences with gap years, and then reach out to organizations or research volunteer opportunities and figure out how you can make the most of your gap year. So this is your opportunity to really do what you want to do and make sure that you take advantage of that. You have to really reach out to people and get a number of different experiences so that you find what you want to do later on. My last tip for anybody who is taking a gap year is to enjoy yourself. As cliche as that sounds, you have to make sure that you're enjoying yourself.
What personal knowledge did you gain from taking a gap year about yourself?
Well, I learned actually that the course I was set on studying wasn't the right course for me at that particular moment. I changed from marine biology to zoology because of the personal experience I had during my gap year. I changed very last minute. I had time to go and volunteer with an organization for stray cats, and then through that I managed to get connections to another organization for wild animals, and I figured out, you know what, I don't want to limit myself by only studying marine biology right now. Zoology is the right option for me. So had I gone straight to university, I probably would have studied the wrong thing. Additionally, I learned more about myself personally that I wasn't able to see while I was at school, and that's what my driving force is, and that is to help others, more specifically animals. So I really got to learn a bit about myself.
What I love is how you said that you feel you've improved your organization skills post IB during this gap year, and I think it's interesting that it seems to coincide and correlate with the fact that you're now doing activities that you choose.
Yeah, I think that now that I have the option to cut some things out that I wasn't enjoying, I've actually become more efficient in organizing my time. So things that I wasn't able to give up during the IB because perhaps I was forced to do them or I felt obligated to do them, I was just able to say, no, these don't make me happy, I'm not enjoying myself, and that's why I'm not performing my best. Definitely focusing on things that I like, experimenting first, finding the things that I like, and then sticking to these things is what has made me happy and what has given me ideas about what I can do further down the line.
So are there activities then that you felt obligated to do, and you're referring to extracurricular activities, that you felt obligated to do out of habit, or is it out of fear that you're going to upset the teacher or whoever was leading the activity if you basically informed them that you were going to stop?
It was both of those things, honestly. Probably a bit more out of habit and then a little bit about upsetting people. Yeah.
And was there any point in time where, if you look back, you would have liked to have changed how you did things and have stopped some activities or commitments you had, extracurricular commitments during the IB?
Yeah, definitely. I wish that during year 13, the whole of year 13, I wish I had stopped everything I didn't enjoy, plus a few things I did enjoy, so that I could focus on studying. Because in my mind, it was like the end of the world if I stopped them there. I thought I wasn't going to pick them up again. But the truth is, cutting out, let's say, football for a year, that can actually be really helpful for my grades, and then I can pick it up again at university if I wanted to. So definitely I would have changed that, especially if you're struggling with organization like I was. Just cut it all out. You don't need to be getting home at 6 o'clock at night and then do 2 essays, before you go to bed. I think if it's best for you, just cut it all out during year 13, especially the latter half of year 13.
So from December onwards, where it's the last stretch to the exams, so just focus on those exams instead of overwhelming yourself with extracurricular activities.
Yeah, the hardest ones to give up are the ones that you enjoy, which is it's a shame, but it's necessary for some people, and I think it was necessary for me.